Everyone talks about how affordable El Salvador is. The cheap rent, the inexpensive food, the low property taxes, and of course it's only when you're buying a property, not every year like in the West. And honestly, a lot of that is true. But after spending more than a year here, almost 2 years, living here with my family, we've discovered something that almost nobody talks about: the hidden cost. The expenses that don't show up in YouTube videos, the costs that can turn what seems like a simple move into something much more expensive than expected. Now, today I'm going to walk you through the real hidden costs of moving to El Salvador so you can budget properly and avoid some of the surprises that we experienced. And one of these costs alone can easily reach $10,000 before you've even unpacked your first box. Buenas tardes, mis amigos, y bendiciones para todos ustedes. Good afternoon, my friends, and blessings to you all. My name is Charity Hagenars, and bienvenido a mi canal if you're new here, y bienvenido de nuevo if we're already old amigos. Si no hablas inglés, ve la configuración y selecciona la pista de audio correspondiente a tu idioma. Cost number one: furnishing your home. Now, when people calculate rent in El Salvador, they often forget one very important detail. Many homes are rented completely empty. Like, they don't have appliances, there's no furniture, there's no fridge, stove, washer, dryer like we expect in North America. Sometimes there is no hot water system and no air conditioning systems either. An empty house can look like a great deal, but then reality hits. Typical costs like a sofa, $300 to $2,000, beds $150 to $1,000, a dining table $300 to $1,000, refrigerators $500 to $1,500, stoves $300 to $1,000, washer dryer sets $600 to $2,000, televisions, kitchen supplies, curtains, linens, mattresses. Before long, you've spent several $1,000s. Even if you're careful, furnishing an entire home can easily cost you $5,000 to $15,000. Now, for us personally, these were the costs that we had. Our table and chairs was $450. We had 3 twin beds, $175 each for $525 in total. A queen bed, $269. 2 gray sofa sets that are $160 each, so that's $320. We had delivery on top of that, $20. We had our fridge, $597. Stove, $367. Deep freezer was $225-ish. Washing machine was $800-ish. Desks, $220 for 5 desks and $20 for the delivery. My husband's desk was $170. Desk chairs were $135. Those are really cheap. They're $45 each. I do not recommend those ones. They broke very quickly. My vanity, $260. We bought 3 night tables. They were $40 each. That's $120. We got some custom furniture cabinets made, $1,600. We got 2 shelves from PriceSmart to put in our pantry and put my husband's tools on. They're about $100 each. That's $200. We get a stainless steel work table for the freeze dryer. That's $100. I bought a rolling cart for $30. A shelf for over the toilet, $20. Lamps, $60. Bunk beds, $600-ish. We bought 2 more beds. That's another $200. I got a PVC shelving unit for Annika's room, $80. The plywood and the brackets and the rails for all our bookshelves is about $200 in plywood. The brackets were $2.50 each. We had 83 brackets. The rails, we had 13 rails, $10.50 each. That was $544 just to put all our books off the floor. We bought fans and light fixtures and that kind of stuff, $500. Curtain rods and curtains, $50. These cabinets, my drawer units and my other cupboards, I got those from Cubis Office Furniture. That was $1,203, totaling $9,665. But don't forget, we brought a shipping container, so I didn't include many of the items that you'd find in your kitchen or your towels or your bedding and that kind of stuff. We brought our own televisions, for example. Now, this was nearly over 2 years. We didn't buy all this stuff at one time. I'm not even including the plywood to make the desk right now that my camera is sitting on. So there are other things too, obviously, but you don't have to buy it all at once. That's my point, is you can do it little by little. I mean, once you got the basics, you need beds, you need, table and chairs, sofa, that kind of stuff. Number 2 cost would be the security deposits. Now, this one might catch many newcomers completely off guard. Most rentals will require your first month's rent and your security deposit. So for example, if your rent is $1,000, you need to pay your $1,000 for your first month and your $1,000 deposit. Before you've even moved in, you're already handing over $2,000. Some landlords request additional guarantees like a police check or a guarantor. I know, I've only ever had that happen once. For beach homes or homes in San Salvador, they can cost a lot more than in rural areas or smaller towns. So our security deposit at our first house was $600, and in this one it's $850. So just keep those costs in mind. Number 3 would be buying a vehicle. Now, could you live here without a vehicle? Technically, yes. Would I recommend it? Probably not. Because with a car, you have freedom to leave when you want without having to wait for an Uber, InDrive, taxi, or a bus. Buses can get very congested, and if you going to get groceries and you have many bags, there's not a lot of space on them. Also, if you have a family of 5 or more, Ubers simply do not work. One time when we lived in the Airbnb, the shopping center was literally across the road. Willem, Annika, and I went to Super Selectos, and we got 2 of the 5-gallon jugs of water and a few bags of groceries. And the Uber arrived, he looked at us and looked at the cart and said he didn't have the space. And then he drove off, leaving us having to pay an Uber fee, and he never gave us a ride. It wasn't our fault that he showed up in the Kia Soul type vehicle. I could never figure out how to select a bigger car on the Uber app. So otherwise you just gotta squish in. Also, we were trying to get home from the water park one time, and 5 Ubers said that they would come to pick us up and then dropped us after we'd waited so many minutes per one, right? We waited over an hour before we actually got home that time. It was crazy. But saying all that, driving here is next level. I have to say, you have to unlock a new skill called aggressive driver in order to drive here. It took me 6 months to gain enough bravery to actually drive here. And then I think it took about a month of driving to achieve the aggressive driver status. Vehicle costs here, a reliable vehicle could probably be $6,000 to $20,000. Insurance is optional, it's not mandatory, but you are held financially responsible if you cause an accident. Now, registration, I think, is about $36 or something like that. It's pretty affordable, and it renews on your birthday. Maintenance. Labor here is cheap, but parts can be expensive or hard to find. Now, depending on the model that you buy. If you buy a Toyota Helix, then you have no issue buying parts here because there's so many of them. But if you're going to come buy, and get a Humvee, you may have issues finding parts here. Now, fuel was $3 and something per gallon until Trump declared war in Iran, and now it's $4 and something per gallon. Still fairly affordable. Unexpected repairs. Well, roads here are rough, and I think driving accidents are the #1 cause of death in this country. And if they are not, would be shocked, actually, considering how many I've personally seen since moving here. So you can expect repairs to be needed at least once a year. And if you're moving from North America and selling your vehicle before coming here, replacing it can be a significant expense. But if you're not a diaspora, importing it can also be very expensive. And there are restrictions with the age of the vehicle, etc. Number 4 cost would be residency and immigration. Many people think they can just simply move to El Salvador and stay forever. Unfortunately, it does not work that way, not legally anyway. If you haven't seen my video on how to get residency, please check that video out. Here, basically, you need to figure out which visa applies to you and gather all of your documents necessary to apply for that visa. So there's a cost there. Now, you do this for the whole family. The cost of the initial temporary residency is $140 per person. And the potential range could be like $1,000 to $5,000 depending on your family size and the pathway you're choosing to get your residency. It's not outrageous compared to many countries, but it's definitely not free. Our paperwork and the immigration costs about $1,800. That's including all the paperwork from Canada with all the fees there, translation, and the actual temporary residency application, and our driver's license, our NIT, and other things that we got here, about $1,800. Next hidden cost would be internet and your connectivity. Now, the internet is surprisingly good in many areas of El Salvador. We have fiber right here. But getting connected can involve costs that people don't expect. Our first installation fee cost more because our initial contract was only for 6 months with Tigo, because I didn't know if we'd be staying in that house longer, and the house had a 6-month contract. However, they do move you for free. So I could have just selected the cheapest installation fee. I think it was a 2-year contract. And they would have moved us over when we moved over without any additional fees or anything. So there is that. Now, assuming there would be Tigo wherever I would move to, right? We did just recently get a UPS power supply at EPA. If you didn't see our shopping trip video for EPA, please click here. We got this because sometimes the power will flicker on and off each morning. I don't know why, and it definitely does that during the storms as well. And it's just enough to like restart the router. Like the lights come back on in 30 seconds, but they're gonna wait a couple of minutes for the router. And if you had a call ongoing, it gets really frustrating. So the UPS was only like $54 or $65. I can't remember which one we bought, but it's really affordable. So if you work online, you know, redundancy becomes important, especially if you're in a more rural area. You might have to tether from your phone internet if you're in a place without really great service. So we had no issues with Tigo, except maybe the price, because we are getting overcharged, but it's still only $32.98 a month. I need to actually go into a Tigo store with a Spanish speaker to get that fixed. Soon, one day. Number 6 would be healthcare. Now, this one depends heavily on your situation. Public versus private. Private consultations can range from $30 from the gynecologist I saw last year to a quote I got from a dermatologist for $70 the other day. So it's quite a range, but public is free. And if you've been put on maybe a waiting list for a specialist, you could go private if you've gone to public first. Like you can get it done faster with private. Now, one of my friends told me he saw a private doctor who wanted to perform surgery on him. So he got a second opinion and they said it wasn't necessary. So be cautious, because private doctors get paid for their service. The more service they offer, the more they get paid. But it is still way more affordable compared to the United States. And you actually get service quickly, whereas in Canada, you cannot. So I find it a good mix here in El Salvador. Health insurance is not necessary, but it is your personal choice. We do not have health insurance ourselves. Now, for prescriptions, the medications are mostly all available over the counter. Well, technically it's behind the counter, but without a prescription at pharmacies. I was able to get my asthma medication here, no problem at all. So it was really easy to get. I just went over and asked for it. Also, just in case you do not know, many people move to El Salvador to improve their health. And a lot of people follow Jack Cruz and his teachings. So whether you get health insurance, go to private clinics, or just use the public healthcare, it's a cost that needs to be planned. Number 7, startup shopping spree. Now this is a sneaky one. You arrive and suddenly you need tools, storage bins, cleaning supplies, extension cords, especially with the lack of outlets in most houses, kitchen gadgets, garden equipment, pet supplies, office furniture, school supplies, dishes and pots and pans and towels and bedding, and not to mention the pantry staple items like your spices. Big jars like at PriceSmart cost like $10, and you get like 5 or 6 of them, it adds up. You get sugar and flour and rice and pasta and more. Every trip to EPA or Walmart seems to be another $300, or PriceSmart, possibly $500. You got to plan for it. Number 8, learning expenses and mistakes. You will make mistakes. You'll buy the wrong furniture. You'll get the wrong internet provider. You'll get the wrong contractor, probably more times than one. You'll get the wrong rental, the wrong vehicle, unexpected repairs. Everyone does. Budget for mistakes. Now, the good news. After hearing all of that, you might think that moving to El Salvador is expensive. But here's the important part. Most of these costs happen only once. After you're all settled in, you'll begin to live a normal-ish Salvadorian lifestyle with lower labor costs, affordable dining, affordable healthcare, affordable services, affordable utilities, affordable groceries. And for many families, once they're established, monthly living costs can still be dramatically lower than in Canada or the United States. So if you're thinking about moving to El Salvador, do not let these hidden costs scare you. Just plan for them. The people who struggle most are usually the people who arrive expecting everything to be cheap immediately. The people who succeed are people who budget for reality. For our family, despite all the hidden costs, moving to El Salvador was still one of the best decisions that we've ever made. If you're considering making the move, let me know in the comments what surprises you the most about this list. And if you've already moved here, tell everyone about the hidden costs that caught you by surprise. Subscribe for honest, real-world information about life in El Salvador from a family actually living it. And if you want to be part of our WhatsApp community of others who have come before you or who are on their way, send me an email with your WhatsApp number to youtube@hagenars.com. I also have a second channel called Making It in El Salvador, where I have a bunch of videos of our daily lives here. Now, I was doing a video once a week, but it was getting a little bit too busy around here, especially with homeschooling my daughter and soon to be my son. So stay tuned for that video. We'll see you in the next one.
Don't forget to hit the like button.